Alright guys, a lot of stuff has come out about Xenoblade Chronicles 3 with the story, the gameplay, we've got the new trailer, we've got characters, we've got details, we've got battles. A lot of stuff is flowing right now, and many people are thinking this could be the next step for the Xenoblade franchise. And this is something that I've spoke about a bit before, but I knew that I was going to go more in depth about when it comes to the sales. And I'm pretty much thinking at this point, based on a few different things that I've already seen, some stuff that I've analyzed as well, and just some of the just hype and the surrounding atmosphere with Xenoblade Chronicles 3, I'm guessing, or I'm thinking that this game is going to do even better than I thought that it was going to do. Now, I've put out some numbers before, and I'm going to revisit that, but I'm also going to add in a few other things based on some stuff that I've been seeing and analyzing out there on the market. But before we get into that and much more, what's good everyone? OJ here. Welcome back to another video. Please make sure you hit that like button and subscribe if you're someone new to get my RPG and Nintendo videos first as soon as they drop. So thank you to everybody who's subscribed, and let's get it going. So let's start off with the Xenoblade Chronicles 3. For those who don't know, or if you're new to the channel, if you subscribe through my Nintendo Switch series that I have, 10 games that you should buy before super rare, or if you subscribe through like my triangle strategy stuff, I'm also a huge fan of Xenoblade Chronicles and of course RPGs just in general. But Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is currently my most anticipated game for 2022, now that we know that Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild is not going to be this year. But I'll be honest, even if we did know that it was going to be this year, Xenoblade Chronicles 3 might still be my most anticipated game. Now, why are we talking about the sales and some of the stuff with that? Well, this is something that I'm very passionate about when it comes to Monolith Soft, because I've seen this company, I've seen what they've done when they started out with Nintendo, heck, even before they started out with Nintendo, when they were still kind of doing stuff with Bandai Namco and making games for Nintendo. I saw the potential in them from a very long time ago, and it's taken a decade plus, but we're finally seeing what Monolith Soft can do pretty much at their peak at this point. And even at their peak, they can go beyond that. It's almost like plus ultra, I feel, with the Xenoblade Chronicles 3. They're really putting so much together. So after looking at some of the stuff, we're going to talk about the Famitsu Most Wanted. After looking at some of the hype that I've seen around just the atmosphere with Nintendo fans, as I've got the pulse on lots of different opinions from around the interwebs and of course on my own channel, I think that Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is going to overperform what I initially thought. Now, I was always thinking that it was going to be anywhere between like a 2.5 to 3 million seller based off of a number of factors and kind of how I determine things. This is the same type of formula that I used to determine that Metroid Dread was going to sell a lot better than any other previous Metroid game. So I usually take a franchise that isn't a massive seller. So we're saying not the biggest Nintendo franchise, not the 10 million plus sellers and all that. So you take something like that, and if you see positive growth with each major or new entry, that's pretty good. That's already a positive escalator going up. So you kind of times that in there. Then you take the history of the franchise. So what has it done before? What is the bottom? What is the top? What can it do that it's shown before? And then you kind of add that in there. And then finally you mix in the secret sauce. And really, it's not a secret sauce anymore. It's this point, it's the Switch effect. I think some of you guys have probably heard that before. Well, it came from me. I'm the one who started talking about the Switch effect, where pretty much any game so far that's come out in the whole Switch era has gotten a boost in sales because of the Nintendo Switch's popularity. And this dates all the way back to even when the Switch didn't have a bigger install base than Nintendo's biggest systems of all time, like the Nintendo Wii and also like the Nintendo DS. The Switch series games, the big franchises, and even new franchises were outselling what they've done before, and they were doing it in record time. It wasn't just like, oh, after a year or 2 years or 3 years. It was like almost instantly, considering if you look at the big sales, like Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild easily surpassed Twilight Princess and the other big selling games, Ocarina of Time, fairly quickly before the install base blew up to where it is at this point. We saw what Super Mario Odyssey, for example, passed up the Galaxy games, even though the Switch had a smaller install base at the time that it passed it up, and has since passed up all of the 3D Mario games very easily at this point. We see with Pokemon, and we see with many other franchises out there. So what I'm equating to, I'm looking at it, we've already seen it once before with Xenoblade Chronicles 2 on the Nintendo Switch, and that actually doubled up on the original with Xenoblade Chronicles 1. Then Definitive Edition came out, and then that also surpassed what the original did as well. So now if you're looking at with Xenoblade Chronicles 3, you have a new game, and you have a game that's built for the ground up with the Nintendo Switch in mind at the advanced stage of its life. So you're seeing better graphics, you're seeing better performance, and you're just seeing a lot more when it comes to the combat and the action, considering you can have up to 7 people on screen all attacking at the same time. And Monolith Soft would not do that if there was going to be a lot of problems with this game when it comes to the resolution and the frame rate and all that type of stuff. They would just reduce the amount of people, because that's what they did when they had less people for Xenoblade Chronicles 3. They had to reduce things down from what they'd done before. So I do feel that this game is going to impress a lot more people, and it's going to get far more people into Xenoblade Chronicles than we've seen before, because I've already had a number of people tell me that they went out and purchased Xenoblade Chronicles 2, they purchased the Definitive Edition, they're watching the timeline stuff, they're going to pre-order the game, or they want to get the special edition. And people that are getting into Xenoblade that never really got into the franchise beforehand, especially with Pyra and Mythra in Super Smash Bros. So now at this point, I'm kind of revising what I feel that the minimum and ceiling is going to be for Xenoblade Chronicles 3. Now, I think not at this point, and once again, there's still some variables that are factored in, even like with my Metroid Dread equation, was also the review scores. Review scores are also very important, and it's something that you definitely have to factor in. If a game has better review scores, a better Metacritic, then it's absolutely going to do better, get better word of mouth. It's going to sell more, especially in this social media driven, atmosphere that we live in when it comes to gaming. So I feel that you can add in that effect too, but we have to wait till the game actually comes out before we can kind of factor that. But I'm guessing, just based off of what I've seen so far, I'm guessing that this game is going to be a mid to high-ish 80s type of game. So that would put it somewhere in the realm of Xenoblade Chronicles 1, the Definitive Edition on the Switch, which has a high 80s at this point. So I do feel that with that good review score, that could also jump things up just a bit as well, because I don't think that it's going to be under the 85 average. I think it's going to be above that, because I think this game is going to be better based off of what we've seen so far. So I do feel that that's going to be a factor. So I'm going to actually bump up my prediction in terms of the minimum and the ceiling. I'm going to bump that up to 3 to 3.5 million for the minimum, and then all the way up to maybe 4 to 5 million at the max, at the very end of the day. It could do that, or maybe a bit more, because we don't know what Nintendo's going to do with the next generation of Switch and how they're going to do that. Are they going to just have the backwards compatibility, which I think that they're going to do? Are they going to have an enhanced edition of the game to where it can run better and look better, to where if you just pop in the cartridge or if you just download the game on your next gen Switch, it's going to be better? I mean, I do think that that is a factor, and that can help sell more of the game as the Switch brand continues to just grow and grow and grow in the future. So I think that Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is going to be around for a while, because look how long it took them to make between 2 and also 3. So I think that this game is going to be relevant even past the regular Switch's lifespan, and more people are going to get into it as more people play Smash and see Pyra and Mythra and everything there. So I'm connecting that in there. So I do feel that the ceiling when it comes to the minimum and maximum has been bumped up quite a bit. And I'm excited to see more of this game, because all you see is excitement. If you go to the trailers of this game, go and look through the comments. You just see people saying, wow, I would have never thought that I'd be into Xenoblade, or wow, I'm going to try out this game, or this looks like a franchise that I would like, or this is going to be my first Xenoblade game. You're seeing it all over the place. So I'm definitely going to give it a nice bump above what we saw with the Xenoblade Chronicles 2, considering where we're at with the install base, and then also with the hype as well, and how much technically better and review-wise better I think this game is going to be over Xenoblade Chronicles 2, and of course even over Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition, which was a port of a Wii game, so obviously graphically just doesn't have the juice as what you can do with the game built for the ground up for the Switch. Xenoblade Chronicles 2, they were really just working off of what they worked with on the Wii U. And what they did there with Xenoblade Chronicles X, it wasn't until Torna, the Golden Country Tour, where they started using their newer tools and newer engine, and now they've actually perfected that, or done a lot better job of what they've got and built it for the ground up for the Switch for the most part. I think that this game is really going to ascend a lot higher than where I thought it could be. Now, we still have to wait for a couple other variables, right? There's other factors that play a part into this that could go either way, but I'm pretty confident in what I'm saying right now at this point when it comes to lifetime to date sales. But we'll see exactly how it all works out in the end. What are your thoughts on my sales predictions here? And the most important thing that I'm saying with Xenoblade Chronicles 3, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Okay, guys, and I wanted to add on one more topic here because as I was finishing up and editing my video, I actually had to add this in because some huge news has just broke. As of the time that I'm recording this video, Square Enix has essentially sold off all of their Western studios and divisions and IPs. Yes, Tomb Raider, Thief, Legacy of Kain, and more have all been sold off to the almighty entity that is called the Embracer Group, AB, or Embracer. Yes, this is just breaking here. A lot of you guys are going to start hearing about this, going to start seeing people talk about it. It is news here. We have the amount that it's sold for. We have more discussion on it. There is a lot to get into. Now, just so I can make sure that I'm clear with this, Embracer Group has not purchased all of Square Enix. Embracer Group does not own Final Fantasy and does not own all of like Kingdom Hearts and all the Japanese stuff. Essentially, what they own is almost all, if not all, of their Western-based studios and IPs that Square Enix owns. So let's go ahead and get into the press release here from the Embracer Group here. So Embracer Group AB, Embracer, has entered into an agreement to acquire the development studios Crystal Dynamics, Eidos Montreal, Square Enix Montreal, and a catalog of IPs including Tomb Raider, Deus Ex, Thief, Legacy of Kain, and more than 50 back catalog games from Square Enix Holdings Co. Ltd. or Square Enix Holdings. In total, the acquisition includes 1,100 employees across 3 studios and 8 global locations. The total purchase price amounts to USD 300 million on cash and debt-free basis to be paid in full at closing. Embracer has secured additional long-term debt funding commitments for this and other transactions in the pipeline. The company today reiterates its current operational EBIT forecast for FY 21-22, FY 22-23, and FY 23-24. The transaction is subject to various regulatory and other external approvals and is expected to close during the second quarter of Embracer's financial year 2022-2023, July through September 2022. Now, Embracer will hold a webcast presentation for investors, analysts, and media on the 2nd of May 2022. So that is tomorrow, or that is today. That is today at CET 09.00. Please find details in a separate invitation that will follow this release. So by the time that you guys watch this, everything will be going down. And like I said, you're going to hear a lot more about it. Quote, "We are thrilled to welcome these studios into the Embracer Group. We recognize the fantastic IP, world-class creative talent, and track record of excellence that have been demonstrated time and again over the past decades. It has been a great pleasure meeting the leadership teams and discussing future plans for how they can realize their ambitions and become a great part of Embracer," says Lars Wingefors, I'm probably saying that wrong, co-founder and group CEO, Embracer Group. Embracer is the best kept secret in gaming, a massive, decentralized collection of entrepreneurs whom are thrilled to become a part of today. It is the perfect fit for our ambition: make high quality games with great people, sustainability, and grow our existing franchises to their best versions ever. Embracer allows us to forge new partnerships across all media to maximize our franchise's potential and live our dreams of making extraordinarily entertainment, says Phil Rogers, Square Enix America and Europe CEO. So there you go. Looks like maybe he's going with them as well. So there's more information. I'll have a link for you guys. Wario had the beat on there because I think the site crashed with all the people going on there. So what does this mean for Square Enix going forward? Well, we've seen quite the number of flops when it comes to Square Enix's Western games. The last Tomb Raider, it didn't flop, but it didn't do as well as Square Enix wanted. We saw Outriders, we saw the Avengers game. We've seen just a number of Western games just not live up to maybe what Square Enix is looking for or what they want when it comes to these games. They've tried for more than a decade now, and it seems, to really break into the Western market with a huge franchise that gets the type of success that you would see for other Western games, and they haven't been able to do it. They haven't been able to do it in the live service front. They haven't been able to do it in the single player front. They've had some high spots or some bright spots like with Tomb Raider, but they just haven't been able to do that. So maybe what this means, and I'm looking at it from the Japanese RPG, Japanese game side, maybe what this means that they're going to double down, focus their resources, focus their money, time, and effort on making the best Japanese style games that they can make. Now, just a little bit ago, the Square Enix CEO did say that, hey, look, as you know, Japanese developers, we can't be trying to emulate or copy the Western developers in order to make games or be good or whatever the case is. We can't be doing that. And now this comes out. So that's what he was alluding to, like, hey, we're kind of done with this. We're going to be us. We're going to be the best Square Enix that we can be. Like I said, doubling down on Dragon Quest, double down on Bravely Default, make that into something more. Double down on Switch development. That's $300 million that you can put into making super high quality games for Switch, for PlayStation, for Xbox, and the Japanese RPGs and the style of games that Square Enix is known for and what they do best. That's Dragon Quest, that's Final Fantasy, that's Bravely Default, that's Octopath Traveler, that's Triangle Strategy, that's all of these style of games. That's what you're good at. Stick with it and build from there. Build new pipelines, build new types of games. Like I said, invest into Nintendo with the Switch, invest into PlayStation and the big multi-platform type of games like Dragon Quest or like Final Fantasy, which I guess it's PC and PlayStation because they got a deal, but you guys know what I'm talking about. Invest into those, do what you do best, and kind of go from there. And if there's an opportunity to build a new IP like Triangle Strategy or like Octopath Traveler, or if you can take an existing IP like the Bravely series and invest that to become even bigger, since those are million sellers at this point, they've got 3 games and 2 of them are million sellers, take the next step there. So to me, this isn't necessarily a bad thing. I'm looking at these Western IPs, but at the end of the day, I identify and I like Square Enix's games like Final Fantasy and like Dragon Quest and Bravely Default and those a lot more than I like all of this. So to me, this is a huge announcement, and I think that this is a huge focus change for Square Enix going forward in the future. Square Enix also put out their own press release that was short but sweet, essentially talking about more what this transaction will do for them and what they plan on doing outside of the stuff that I think that's going to happen as well. So here's what they had to say on the matter. The transaction will assist the company in adapting to the changes underway in the global business environment by establishing a more efficient allocation of resources, which will enhance corporate value by accelerating growth in the company's core businesses in the digital entertainment domain. In addition, the transaction enables the launch of new business by moving forward with investments in fields including blockchain, AI, and the cloud. The move is based on the policy of business structure optimization that the company set forth under the medium-term business strategy unveiled on May 13, 2021. The transaction also provides an opportunity to better align our overseas publishing functions with our organization in Tokyo, revisit the current governance structure and associated reporting lines, and advance integrated group management with the goal of maximizing the worldwide revenue generated from future titles launched by the group's studios in Japan and abroad. Going forward, the company's development function will comprise its studios in Japan, Square Enix External Studios, and Square Enix Collective. The company's overseas studios will continue to publish franchises such as Just Cause, Outriders, and Life is Strange. So I think that if you kind of look over everything here, it looks like they're just trying to cut off all of the excess stuff that has been a big money sink for them, advance and kind of build into new technologies that are coming out, but also reinforce what they're going to be doing with their current games and development. There are some people that have already reached out to me on Twitter, and probably people in the comments section that are saying, oh my gosh, you have blockchain and you also have stuff like that, the cloud, you know, AI and things like that. And I think that those business structures, whatever they do in the digital fields like they talked about, it'll be mobile, it'll be some of those things. But I think that this can really make them double down on a lot of the stuff that I talked about here as well with their core games. And I think that that's going to be a huge focus for them, since now they don't have that albatross hanging over their head with those Western games. I do think that there is going to be some optimizations like they did say as well, but once again, it's going to be interesting to see exactly how it all plays out. They have the blueprint to be successful, to be really successful with their IPs, and I think that this just might focus them. So it could be addition by subtraction, but we're gonna have to wait and see how everything plays out. But what are your thoughts on this, guys, when it comes to this big news with Square Enix? What do you think the future holds for them, and also for Square Enix's former with Crystal Dynamics, with the Western games like Tomb Raider and all that? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button. Subscribe if you're someone new. Click that notification bell, and we will see you for the next video. Peace.